Okay, main event time. Here we go. Thank you very much, Sean Strickland, for saving this main event for this fight night. 2 fight night main events in a row for Sean Strickland. He lost a very close decision to Jared Cannonier. That was weeks ago, and getting right back in there. That's a very Sean Strickland move, I want to say. So appreciate that. And then he gets on the microphone at the press conference and just talk shit about France.
Yeah, dude, I saw that.
Like,
fuck. Oh, man.
Also a very Sean Strickland thing to do.
No one ever says shit about what Sean Strickland says. Like, I feel like if other guys said half the stuff Sean Strickland says, it would be like hitting Twitter and like whatever. And I feel like people are just like, there goes Sean Strickland again. Like, no one fucking cares.
Well, because there's never been any repercussions for it either. Like, like nobody's saying anything. He's not gonna, nothing's gonna happen. So it just,
I mean, not that there should be repercussions for talking shit about France. You're just calling France like a country of cowards. Like,
yeah.
What is France gonna fine him?
No, I don't mean like that. I mean like if Jared Cannonier said that, I feel like you'd see posts like,
it'd be
Jared
like
Cannonier, like, characterizes France as cowards. Like, this is not okay. And Sean Strickland says it, and everyone's like, well, yeah, it's Sean Strickland. Like,
I also don't think anybody actually gives a shit what Sean Strickland says, which I think is kind of where it's at. Like, no one really is waiting to see what Sean Strickland has to say to make their lives any different than what they are. Sean Strickland just talks to talk and hopes somebody listens.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just has no filter. He's just the broiest dude who doesn't have a filter and doesn't care and just says whatever he wants. I don't think he says it to be inflammatory or get clicks. He's just like a dude. He just like...
Oh, dude, half the time he says things, you can tell that he's like, maybe this shouldn't be coming out of my mouth, but like, too late now. Like, he always kind of seems like that.
Okay. So Sean Strickland, 31 years old, out of California, 25-5 as a pro, 10 knockouts, 4 subs added to that. He is coming off of back-to-back losses against Alex Pereira and Jared Cannonier most recently. He came into the UFC as an undefeated 13-0 fighter, making his debut at UFC 171 back in March of 2014, a submission win against Bubba McDaniel. And he is now 12-5 in the UFC. He will be facing off against the Frenchman, Nassourdine Imavov, the 27-year-old out of Paris. 12-3 as a pro, 5 knockouts, 4 subs, a pretty good finish rate for himself. He will be riding a 3-fight win streak coming into this weekend. Most recently, a very impressive, pretty dominant UD over Joaquin Buckley back in September. He made his UFC debut in October of 2020, a win against Jordan Williams, and he is now 4-1 under the UFC banner. Omar, let me throw it over to you first. Give us your take and your pick of a very interesting middleweight matchup between Strickland and Imavov.
So we all know what Sean Strickland's game is going to be, right? Like, Sean Strickland is the type of person who wants to throw volume. He's not necessarily turning into all his punches. He's not necessarily looking to overtake you with damage so much as he's trying to overtake you with just his volume. He's also not seemingly the guy who's going to look for the takedowns right away. Very possibly if he gets stuck in a bad spot or starts to get his ass whooped, he might look into changing up his game plan. Nassourdine Imavov is one of these guys that I think is pretty well-rounded. I don't think he is amazing anywhere specifically, but I do think that he is really good everywhere. I think as a result of that, I don't think that Sean Strickland will be able to outstrike him on technique. I do think that if it goes down to the ground, I would probably give that more to Imavov. But I think if Imavov is able to find a way around the peppering style that Strickland has on the feet, I think Imavov might have that fight in the bag. And I can't ride with a guy who just talks random shit about an entire country. At least not right up front. Like, just like Chael Sonnen, I can ride with him later on, maybe 10 years down the road when I find him funny, but not in the moment. So I'm going to go with Imavov by unanimous decision.
Okay, Mark?
Okay, so it is a dead pick'em. Both guys minus 110.
Wow.
Love that Strickland stepped into this fight. I like this fight more than I liked the initial fight with Coven Gastelum. I think it's more interesting, more competitive. It's a hard one because if this was a camp where Strickland had if this was a fight where Strickland had a camp, I would be taking Strickland fairly confidently because he has striking. I think they're pretty competitive, and obviously that's what Strickland wants to do. I think his cardio that he normally has gives him an edge. I think Imavov starts to flag a little after round 2. So this being a 5-round fight, I think Strickland would take over late. It would make me lean toward him. Also, Imavov has it in his bag where he can mix it up with the grappling, but Strickland historically has really good anti-grappling, great takedown D. He can make it a striking fight almost always if that's what he wants. For those reasons, if Strickland had a camp, I'd be taking Strickland. With him not having a camp, I worry about a couple things. I worry about when the last time he was training takedown D was, because I doubt was really training it much at all for the Jared Cannonier fight. I don't think he ever thought Cannonier would try to take him down. And I wonder what his cardio's like. And, on the flip side, Strickland's one of these guys who's kind of like always in camp, and he's always fighting, and he's always sparring. So maybe he fucking trains takedown D every day, and maybe his cardio is in great shape, and it doesn't really ever get out of shape. But maybe he's been eating a lot. I don't know what Sean Strickland has been up to since that Cannonier fight. I know he was pissed about the result. Who knows what that means for him? I don't know if he goes into any type of spiral. I don't know what type of cardio shape Sean Strickland walks in this cage with. Imavov looked awesome against Joaquin Buckley. It was the best we've seen him. Striking was incredible. He faded in round 3. Buckley stayed with it. Imavov kind of started to go away a bit. Additionally, Imavov has mostly fought guys he has a size advantage on. The only guy he really didn't was Edmund Shabazian, but Edmund wasn't exactly doing so swift around that time. And we don't really know if he's back yet either. All we've seen him do is beat Lungian Bulu, which you would hope he could do. Other than that, he's fighting guys that he's got a height advantage on and a reach advantage on of like three or more inches. Sean Strickland ain't that. I think he's 1 inch taller than Sean, and he's got 1 inch less reach than Sean. So these guys are pretty much the same size. So it's coin tossy for me with Strickland not having a camp, but I'm still going to side with him. I think that it will be striking. I think Strickland can keep it there. And I think Imavov not having the size helps it be competitive. And I'm going to guess that Strickland is one of these guys that carries his cardio all the time and that he ends up taking 4 and 5 and that he can have one of the earlier ones to give him a win. So I'll go Strickland UD.
Very thorough. Mark?
Thank you.
Yeah, I was super impressed by Imavov in his last outing against Joaquin Buckley. He looked great everywhere. His striking looked great against Buckley, who's a super dangerous striker. He was unintimidated by Buckley's power, and he took it to Buckley in a very aggressive style. Now, Strickland has an aggressive style, but an aggressive sort of plodding forward, constantly kind of pecking at you kind of style. I think Imavov generally, I think he carries more fireworks in his arsenal. And you make an interesting point that had Strickland had a full camp, it might be different. Especially, I'm thinking cardio-wise. Because even if Strickland is the kind of guy who seems to sort of always be training and always be sparring, I just have to think that coming in on short notice against a guy who always comes in shape like Imavov, it's too big of a question mark for me. So I'm going to say that Imavov wins 3 of the 5 rounds, quite possibly 1, 2, and 3. And I don't think that Strickland is going to I don't think he's going to do well with his style, first of all, generally speaking, especially in the early going. He might have a late surge, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And I'm going to say Imavov by unanimous decision.
Omar, how'd you say it?
Indy.
You did.
Yeah.
You know what none of us noted? Or maybe you did in the intro, Mike. Did any of us note that this is happening at 205 pounds?
No.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Yep, because of the short notice. 205. Yeah.
Now,
So you might be right about Strickland and his weight, at least.
Yeah, that's why I was saying it, that I'm concerned. Yeah.
Especially
Strickland
considering
used to be a welterweight.
Imavov. Well, Imavov also probably was planning on cutting weight, obviously, for Gastelum, and this happened, a few days before the fight actually went down. So now he's literally gone an entire camp training, building up, bulking up, and all this other shit, putting the water weight on, and now he doesn't have to cut weight. He doesn't have to starve himself this week. He doesn't have to dehydrate himself this week, at least not to the extent he probably was going to, because you're talking about 20 pounds different now.
Yeah.
So Imavov might look even better now than what he was about to at 185.
That's what I was going to say. It's like it could go either way because Strickland is probably going to be the truly heavier guy because like Imavov's body was ready to be smaller. Strickland's was not. But like to train as if you need to make 185 and then get told, oh, like you did all the work, but you don't have to do that last cut at the end. Like your body is probably in a great spot.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we might see like puffy Sean Strickland. We're going to see.
For a guy that used to be a welterweight.